two of the biggest atheist groups in the country are actually in court against each other because they're fighting over something that's kind of surprising. And I was a little surprised when I heard this story, but I wanted to share this with you because I think you'll find it interesting. Basically, this involves the Freedom from Religion Foundation and American Atheists, two of the largest, most influential, oldest atheist groups in the country. And they're battling over like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the story here is this. Back in 2021, there was a man named Ronald Pelly. He's a donor. He died. He was old. And his family then had the responsibility of executing his will. And thankfully, he had written a will, gotten it notarized a while back. He basically created a trust in his name that left money to a handful of organizations. And here's the part of the trust that I wanted you to see. And I'm going to skip over the legalese here, but basically, you could see at the bottom here, his son's name is Robert Dennis, but this guy left 10% of his money to his son, who is also going to manage the trust. He left 45% of whatever money he had to FFRF, this atheist group. And he left another 45% to a group called Atheist Alliance of America. And I will just tell you, as an atheist who writes about atheism, as someone who has covered this movement for many, many years, I could not for the life of me tell you anything that Atheist Alliance of America does. They don't really exist except maybe on paper. I think they've since rebranded as some other group, but like they don't do anything. I'm not really sure why anyone would leave them any kind of money, but okay, this guy wanted to leave them 45% of his net worth or whatever it was when he died. Whatever, that's his right. People leave money to their cats when they die, whatever. Okay, so that's what you figured would happen when he died. The son would be in charge of making sure those two groups got the money. Fine. There's nothing weird about that. But in 2018, a few years before he died, apparently this guy hand wrote a new document that appeared to update what I just showed you. And I have a copy of this handwritten statement. You could see the date on it at the top. March 9th, 2018. And I've blacked out kind of the personal information, the address and things like that. But basically what he's saying, right above my head here, you could see he says, I have money in two places, my IRA and my Fidelity charitable account. So those are my two sources of money. And he says here, I want to give my son 20%, not 10%, but 20% from each of those funds, which is an increase from what it was before. And look all the way to the left of your screen, next to the guy's name. Do you see what it says here? I'm going to scroll in here. Do you see that? It says same. Why does it say the same? Because theoretically, it's the same dude he mentioned in his original document. Okay, let's go back here. So he wants to give 20% to his son. Now there's Planned Parenthood Foundation of America. He wants to give them 50% of the IRA and 40% of the Fidelity account. Lots of money to Planned Parenthood. You can guess why. They do a lot of good work. And you could see to the left of Planned Parenthood, because they are new, what does it say? It says new. Okay. You can also see here, American Atheists, also new, has been added to the list. They get about 25% from both of his accounts. And FFRF is still on the list. They have a same next to number 4, and they only get 15% of his accounts now. They used to be at 45%. Now they're getting 15% of his accounts. So here's the thing. After this guy died, his son, I don't know anything about the son, but the son, I guess, is going through dad's papers, sorting through the stuff that is left behind. And he comes across this paper, allegedly. And he says, this is what my dad wanted. And they had already started going through the process of giving groups money. And now he sees this paper. So he goes to court and basically says, like, stop. This is what has to happen. FFRF has to give back some of the money. American Atheists has to get some money. Like, sorry, it's a little confusing here, but basically he said whatever however we were going to divvy up the money before, it has changed. But by the time he found this, and by the time it got to court, it turned out that they were using the updated document that I just showed you to give out the money. This piece of paper. This is what they were doing, which means American Atheists got a chunk of cash. FFRF got a chunk of cash. And they were getting all that money based off of this piece of paper. Except this piece of paper was not notarized. This piece of paper is not considered the official will left behind by the guy. And so why are they going to court? FFRF found out that this is not the original piece of paper. The original thing is the thing I showed you earlier that said they get 45% of the cash. So FFRF went to court and they basically said, you have to give us all the paperwork we need to verify that like the original document counts and that this one, does it count? Does it not count? Whatever. They asked the guy nicely. They said he's not giving it to us. So they went to court to try to get all the paperwork because they're saying you owe us a lot more money than what you're getting. American Atheist has now received a lot of money. And that means they have to go to court because the court says if FFRF wins, American Atheist has to give back all this money. And American Atheist says, no, this is what the donor wanted. He wanted to give us money. Why should we give it back? You can understand why this is a hot mess everywhere. Right? Like it's troubling, but you understand why they're fighting about this. This is an actual lawsuit. You could see FFRF filed this lawsuit recently against the Sun, against the Trust, and then they had to go against all the groups involved here because all of them are going to get affected by any change in the amount of money given out to these groups. It's just a huge hot mess. And basically, I spoke with both groups about this lawsuit. And what FFRF said is we have a fiduciary responsibility to our donors. And essentially what they're saying is this is not personal. We have no problem with American Atheists or any other group, but clearly this donor wanted to give us money. And for whatever reason, that money did not get to us because they were using the updated document. So we have a responsibility to make sure that whatever our donor wanted is what happens. And if we have to go to court to make that happen, we will do that. I get where they're coming from. American Atheists, on the other hand, is saying, well, the updated document reflects the real wishes of the donor, which is why we got money. And we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure this is money came to us. That's what the donor wanted. So they're going to court to fight this as well, because at this point, they've already received the money and they don't want to give it back. And they feel like it's worth fighting this in court in order to keep the money they've received. Now, I will also tell you that if we are talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars to these groups, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, based off of their tax forms, has a net worth of like $24 million. So if you're fighting over a few $100,000, it really doesn't affect FFRF's bottom line, even though they're going to court to get it. American Atheist has a budget of like $2 million. So a few $100,000 actually makes a huge difference to their bottom line. So it doesn't look great that a group with a lot of money is going to court to get a little bit more money when one of their allies that benefited from all the things that took place stands to lose a lot if FFRF wins. Do you know what I'm saying? And so part of me wonders, couldn't they just talk this out? Couldn't they say, you know what, even though this is iffy about what the donor wanted, if it helps American Atheists and it doesn't help us, maybe we let this one slide. I wonder why that didn't happen. They, as far as I can tell, they did not communicate about this stuff beforehand, which is weird. Like they felt they had to go to court. FFRF also said, like, this is, like I said, FFRF said this is not personal. They have no animosity toward American Atheists, but they said in order for them to decide what to do, they needed a lot of documentation, and the family of the guy was not giving it to them. The only way they could get it is by going to court to do it, and this is what they got to do. So, like, again, I'm not a lawyer. There's a lot of money at stake here. I know why they're fighting about this. But part of me just thinks like these are two groups that work together. They have bigger fish to fry. And one group, American Atheists, could benefit a lot more from this. And I kind of wonder why FFRF isn't just letting this one go, even though I totally understand why they feel like they got to fight this. American Atheists told me they worried this sort of lawsuit would discourage donors from leaving them in their will, which a lot of nonprofits rely on those kind of legacy gifts to stay afloat. I mean, to me, I don't know that it would affect whether or not I want to give money to charity, but it would just make sure everyone in my family knows exactly what I want to have happen. And I'm not going to do it on a piece of paper and just hope they come across it after I die. One nonprofit lawyer I spoke to said donors shouldn't be worried about this. All you got to do is make sure you leave your money in capable hands. And if this guy's son is withholding documents from FFRF, that's the real problem. So you should be mad at that guy or something. I guess the last thing I'll say is, look, FFRF and American Atheists, they work together on a lot of things. They have overlapping issues. Christian nationalism is the bigger enemy. They work together on the Secular Coalition for America, that lobbying group. I hope this doesn't affect the way they work together, because I like both of the groups. I like a lot of the people that work with these groups. But I feel like this lawsuit is happening. There's no reason to pretend like it's not. So I wanted to share that with you.